Over the course of this conversation on efficiency in the mission of God, it has become quite apparent to me that the topic is a matter of stewardship. I'm convinced that we have been confused about who we are. Attempting to firmly hold these two stories has lured us American Christians into an identity crisis. It has deeply shaped our understanding of our stewardship over what Adonai has entrusted. Oftentimes, the story of the Messiah has been understood to inspire efficiency and results. But I am convinced that this is not the instruction of the rabbi's words. The confusion is not only concerning our intellectual understanding of stewardship, but also our emotions. We have feelings that are wrapped up in and respond to these conflicting understandings of stewardship. Earlier I mentioned the term inefficient and how some of us might respond if it was used to describe us. It is important to recognize what has happened to our ability to discern emotionally between what is and is not valuable. We need an emotional realignment, hating what he hates and loving what he loves. What now are the implications for how stewardship should be understood? We want to work hard for God, organizing and using all of our resources like time and effort. Sometimes we make a plan and we use our time and energy very efficiently, and something incredible is achieved. But things are not always as they appear. Our incredible accomplishments are often nothing. They are finite and not attached to the kingdom mission at all. So if executing plans efficiently is not the answer, then what is? Working for God does require our time and effort, but even more, it requires love. And there is only one source of this love, and it's essential to working for the sake of God's mission. It is Adonai. The source is Adonai. And there is only one way to connect to Adonai, the source of love, and that is by faith, by believing in the one he sent, by trusting and depending on the instruction and forgiveness of the Messiah. It is God who gives the spirit of divine love, not out of any obligation, but by choice. Our value lies in the fact that we are vessels which hold the spirit of love, life, and truth. The Spirit may choose to reach through us and act in powerful ways. It is as if we are a window through which others may engage the Creator, both by our likeness to the Father and by His love that covers our many weaknesses. Using our assets in love is the only way to actually work in the mission of God, because harmonious relationship is the goal. Relationship first with the Creator, and second with each other through the Spirit of God. Adonai is the Creator and source and has first priority over all creation. We are made in the image of the Creator, even though we are fragile and small, and we were given charge of creation. Everything else in the world can be considered an asset or a tool for remembering and forming trust between us and the Creator, and for building love and trust among ourselves. Being made in the image of the one who took material of no value and breathed life into all creation, we have been given the privilege to help construct the world around us into a temple that both the divine and human can live in, but only by the power of God. Stewardship of all we have been given has to do with trust and love in Adonai. In our American context, it is necessary to emphasize that trust and love in Adonai are not rational. Richard Rohr writes, "Yes, the mind is necessary, but it can't do everything. Yes, the mind is receptive, but reason is not our only antenna. We also need our bodies, our emotions, our hearts, our nose, our ears, our taste, and our souls. Yes, the mind can achieve great things, but through over-control it can also limit what we know. Yes, the mind can think great thoughts, and also bad and limiting ones. The mind can be a gift and a curse. Yes, the mind can tell left from right, but it cannot perceive invisible things, such as love, eternity, fear, wholeness, mystery, or the divine. Yes, the mind likes to think, but until it learns to listen to others, to the body, the heart, and all the senses, it also uses itself to block everything it does not like to do or to acknowledge. Yes, the mind is our friend, but when we are obsessive or compulsive, it can also be our most dangerous foe. Yes, the mind welcomes education, but it also needs to be uneducated to learn how much of what it knows is actually mere conditioning and prejudice. Here we see that the mind, like efficiency, is a tool that has a place where it needs to operate, and that when it steps outside of those bounds and bites off more than it should have, it becomes counterproductive. In our American context, it is necessary to emphasize that trust or faith and love in Adonai are not rational. Divine love is not regulated by human logic. The Creator's love is illogical because human logic is flawed. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, the intelligence of the intelligent I will frustrate. Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? But since in the wisdom of God the world through its wisdom did not know him, God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believed. Jews demand signs and Greeks look for wisdom. But we preach the Messiah crucified as a criminal, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. That our stewardship, which is based in trust and in love, must bust out of rational structures. They must burst forth and take the lead. Rationality can be helpful in supporting our faith and our love, but let us not limit our faith and our love in order to be rational. Our stewardship is not one of logic and calculation. Our stewardship is one of trust and of love. In our American context, it is necessary to emphasize that trust and love in Adonai are not regulated by empiricism and quantification. One of my favorites is a quote from Yeshua the Messiah in John chapter 7, verse 24. He says, "Stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly." I also think of Yeshua honoring the widow who brought her last mite and saying that she is given the most out of everyone. You had all these rich guys in the temple dumping out these bags and bags and bags of coins, and this widow brings one mite and drops into the collection. And Yeshua looks at that and he says that she outgave everyone. Stop judging by mere appearances, instead judge correctly. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes or decide by what he hears with his ears. But with righteousness he will judge the needy. With justice he will give decisions for the poor of the earth. Jim Pluteman is a professor of missions and evangelism at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. He wrote, "Some missiologists and churches see the world of missions as a machine. They are dominated by the cult of efficiency. They view the missionary enterprise as accomplishing precise goals in a predicted time frame, with the least amount of money and the fewest missionaries. Because of their passion for precision and predictability, they set goals for things that can easily be counted. They wish to know exactly what the final result will look like, when it will be accomplished, and how much it will cost. Success is measured on graph paper. Quantities can possibly be after-the-fact indicators of the Lord's blessing, but that they are only valuable when they are actually pointing towards inner qualities, and that they don't always point towards inner qualities, and so it is not always important to pay attention to numbers. Chasing after measurable objectives creates an atmosphere that cultivates manipulation and control. And I wonder how manipulation and control of circumstances, of people, and just the situations in life around us, how that plays into our stewardship. And specifically, if we have bought into the fact that our stewardship is should be measured by faith and love. What does it mean when we are tempted to manipulate and control people and circumstances around us? Can we have faith and trust and simultaneously be in a state of trying to control what is happening? I think there's a difference between influencing, which we are called to do, and trying to control. And I won't talk a whole lot further about that right now, but I think that it is something to think about. Does love manipulate? Does faith control? In our American context, it is necessary to emphasize that trust and love in Adonai redefine good time management.
There was a recent study we did with USA Today asking Americans how busy they are. The vast majority of Americans, more than 50%, said I'm busier now than I was last year. I'm busier last year than the previous year. And I sacrifice friends, family, and sleep for my success. This is across the board, not separating my future orientation. And then we say, suppose you had an 8-day a week. What would you do? They say, oh, that would be great. They would spend most of that time working harder, achieving more, not with friends, not with family, and not even sleeping.
Our trust and our love for Adonai redefines our understanding of how to manage time well. Jonathan Hargrove writes, this invitation comes at a time when we are at odds with Father Time. For many of us in contemporary society, technology enables our desire to transcend the limitations of a 24-hour day. We eschew any rhythm of life in hopes of doing everything at once. Multitasking is the current catchphrase for our attempt to be something more than creatures living within the limits of time. Our grandparents, who moved from farms to factories in hope of a better life, were pushed to beat the clock by bosses who checked their time cards and looked over their shoulders. But today, writes journalist Maggie Jackson, we are our own efficiency experts, relentlessly driving ourselves to do more, ever faster. For St. Augustine, in the 5th century, the most fundamental distinction human beings need to understand is the difference between the Creator and creation. The condition of time is one way to understand this distinction. Hargrove continues, but God comprehends all these in a stable and eternal present, Augustine noted, convinced that our fundamental stability depends on a God who is not like us and is thereby able to save us. Such an understanding of God reveals that our desire to get out of the limits of time is, at root, a desire to become like God by our own efforts. What we hardly ever want to admit is that we are limited creatures, subject to the confines of time and space. We cannot be anywhere, anytime. As a matter of fact, we can only be in this place, now. And so these points work together to help arrange a new way of understanding what it means to be a good manager of our time. There's a certain rightness about accepting the fact that he is able and we are not. If we are buying into the story that we are rescued people and that we are not achievers who produce results. So I would like to suggest that waiting can be efficient. Trusting Adonai is efficient. Shabbat rest is efficient. All of this is, in the mission of God, efficient uses of time. Finally, in our American context, it is necessary to emphasize that trust and love in Adonai redefine stewardship. It's about love. Loving Adonai means respecting his place. It means obedience. And our obedience requires trust, belief, faith. It is only through this trust and love in Adonai, through this obedience, that we can really learn to love each other. The part that love plays is miraculous. It transforms the inconsequential into priceless assets. And so, since love is so pivotal, our understanding of stewardship should acknowledge love above all other aspects of stewardship.